Ela told us Noach is tzaddik. Tomim hayo b'dorosav. Noach was tzaddik, Tomim, b'dorosav, in his generations, in his days. And Rashi brings two interpretations of this b'dorosav. Yesh dorshim l'shvach, l'shevach, yesh dorshim l'gnai. There's those who say that this is actually a compliment. Even in dorosav, in his generation, where the world's so degenerated, he was still a tzaddik. Yesh dorshim l'gnai. Others say no. Relative to his generation, he was a tzaddik. Had he lived in the days of Avraham Avinu, he wouldn't have been anything. Wow. Is he a tzaddik? Is he not? Says Maharal, there's no contradiction, they're both true. His greatness, the description of Noach as tzaddik tamim, is certainly relative to his generation. But even so, if relative to his generation he was a tzaddik, a generation that was so off, that's greatness. He's great and he's not great. Why were chazal so uncertain about Noach? When the pasuk says tzaddik, tomim, why do they cast doubt on his being a tzaddik? Oh, the pasuk doesn't really mean it. It only means relative to his generation. This is another chazal, the Haftorah that we actually don't read this week, speaks of Mei Noach, the waters of Noach. The flood is referred to as the waters of Noach. The waters of Noach. As if he is responsible for the flood. Chazal tell us, Noach saved himself and his family, the animal kingdom. Couldn't save any more human beings. He spent 120 years building this ark. He didn't get anyone, not a single person, to think about maybe we're wrong. Words of the Kesef Mishnah in answer to the Ravid on the Rambam of why was Avraham Avinu chosen. There were tzaddikim before him. Says the Kesef Mishnah, because he was the first to be korei b'shem Hashem, to publicly fight for Hashem. Hanefesh asher asu b'choron, created a whole following. Others were tzaddikim, but on their own. Chazal look at Noach and they say, yes, tzaddik tomim. It is through him that the human race was preserved. But something's wrong. How can you be a tzaddik tomim? and not affect anybody. So they found the clue, Bedoro Sav. It's relative. His tzidkis was limited. It was all the way up there, but it was limited. He did not compare to Avraham Avinu. You want to hide away, seclude yourself, build yourself, become great. At a time when you're needed out there, something's missing in one's being a tzaddik. But more so, he was building the ark for 120 years. It wasn't like he was locked up in the base medrash. He was out there building this ark. You be sure people asked him, what are you doing? In fact, that was why he was commanded to spend 120 years building the ark. How could he not affect others? So one would assume that he was so different from them. He just didn't know how to relate to them. And yet, chazal see that as a lack of being a tzaddik. It's not for us to be critical of Noach, but chazal are doing this. And we got to learn our lesson. Who Noach was, beyond our ability to understand. But the Torah presents this as part of the guide to life. As Torah, we've got to learn from it on a level of what we call pshat. What does it say? And on that level, what it's telling us is that you may be a great tzaddik. And yes, you are the salvation of humanity. But there's something lacking in your tzidkis. If you can't find a way to get across to these degenerates around you. Rav Noach, who was a different kind of Noach. We used to joke he was the tikkun of Noach. He used to say if you'd have Yirah Shamayim, you'd figure it out. He clobbered us with that all the time. There was this article he used to produce of someone that was in the business of retirement homes, assisted living, Jewish. The inhabitants were predominantly Jewish. And one Jewish woman who was not observant demanded non-kosher food. The halach was he couldn't serve her non-kosher food. He just couldn't do it. So she went to court and won. And he either had to break halacha, which he wouldn't do, he was an observant Jew, or give up his livelihood. See, he came up with this brilliant idea. He spent time with this woman. He was makarev. Noach used to say, If it's your livelihood, you know how to do kiruv, huh? There are so many people in the Jewish nation today that people say are not reachable. No such thing. No such thing. If we understand the stakes, it means losing a large portion of the Jewish nation. We've got to try everything and we've got to figure it out. Yeah, we're trying. We're trying. Working hard, spending a lot of money. You got to think about it. Maybe someone here is going to come up with the idea. It's not going to come from a stroke of genius. It's going to come because somebody is going to feel it just has to be done. The Jewish nation has to be saved. If your livelihood depended on it, you'd find out. You'd figure it out. The Chilul Hashem. Most Jews don't know they were created. And even among those who do, they say, but he's not the God of the Bible. It's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. You've got to know that it can't just go on. The assimilation is over 70%. Who's Mashiach going to come to? If we can't come up with the idea, there's something missing in our being tzaddikim. Because if it matters, we find answers. You got to learn. You got to grow. You got to build your own relationship with Hashem. That's what you're here for. You got to become tzaddikim. But if you're only self-involved, there's something wrong with your tzidkus. If you're not pained by the state of Klal Yisrael, where are you? Where are you holding? It's warm, it's cozy, it's nice, it's reassuring, intellectually challenging. That's not enough. The future of so much of Klal Yisrael is at stake. May Noach. Noah's responsible for the flood. Noach, the one man that earned to be saved. He and his family. He's responsible. Because his 120 years of building the ark wasn't effective. We got to care, we got to think. Become tzaddikim, but real ones. A tzaddik cares, and cares enough to find answers. Oh, Hashem should help us all. Jewish nation's in trouble. Hashem should help give us that feeling of real responsibility for the whole of the Jewish nation. And then we'll find answers. And then we'll bring the Geula Shalema. May it happen quickly.